This miniature was primed with Vallejo's matte black primer from an airbrush, followed by an anti-zenithal spray of violet acrylic and then zenithal sprays of sepia and... yeah, I'm not reading that one. Some kind of orangish brown. Once inside at my desk, I decide the order of what I'm going to paint, starting with the inner and harder to reach areas first, or in this case, the flesh, the shirt, the vest, pants, jacket, and then everything else. The flesh is first base coated with magenta. I then highlight roughly 80% of the flesh with the same magenta mixed with a little peach. I continue adding a few highlights, covering about 20% more of the remaining surface area each time, using the same two colors, though adding a little more peach to it with each highlight. To add a little more life to it, so that he doesn't look like a complete zombie, I glaze a little red around the cheeks and in between the highlights and shadows. I redo my last highlight to recover from anywhere that I added too much red tint, and then apply one final highlight, this time of unmixed peach. This latter is only done on about 20% of the face, focused mainly towards the front. Here's a quick look at where I stopped with the face and the colors I used for it. The black and off-white were only used on the eyes, and the three colors on the left were the colors used for the flesh. The eyes and flesh took me just under 45 minutes of work to complete. For the shirt, I base coated this with a mix of black and dark blue. I then highlighted 3 times with increasingly lighter blue hues, with the third and final highlight only being an edge highlight. Now, I never talk about color theory because I don't really know too much about it beyond the basic concepts of complementary colors and red plus yellow equals orange. However, even armed with such little knowledge, I surmised that the dark blue shirt played the complementary color to his orangey red skin. The shirt took less than 15 minutes to paint in total. Now, of course, I come to this conclusion after I internally complain to myself about why in the hell everything else he's wearing is brown. Ultimately, I assume this was likely done by the costume designer to purposely draw the onlooker's gaze to Cooper's ghastly, or I suppose I should say ghoulish complexion. Despite the tones of brown on all his clothing being similar, I decided the pants, vest, and rifle holster would be a lighter tone to the overcoat and boots, and the belts would have a slightly ruddy tint added just to break up the monotony, while driving the overall attention to his face. I let the airbrush work be the foundation for all the brown-hued attire and build highlights and shades upon them. Now, I'll only be showing the pants, vest, gloves, and back holster being painted in this video, but the principle remains the same for the jackets and belts, just with slightly different colors being used. A spreadsheet excerpt at the end of this video will show all of the colors that I used, and the final highlight I do in scratchy hatching lines only. All of the brown-hued fabrics just took over 2 hours of work and accounts for most of the time I spent on this miniature. For the gunmetals, I base coated with a dark black metallic paint and then dry brushed with only downward strokes with a dark silver. I then finished it with an edge highlight and a very light dry brushing of a light silver on the upper areas. The copper metals are not shown here, but they're done in the exact same manner. I spent just over 30 minutes on the middles, and it only took that long because the brushes I used were very beat up and needed to be replaced, meaning I had to work extra slow to ensure I didn't get metallic paint in areas that it did not belong. I add a little color to the tips of his shells and then finish painting the base off camera, which took an additional hour before I break out the yellow, brown, and dark gray tone chalks and start shaving a little each off. And with a dry and clean brush that I don't care about, I mix his shavings and stipple it over his lower legs, boots, the base, and his lower jacket. This will leave large chunks of this chalk on the miniature. I then gently dust this chalk off and it leaves behind a light, dusty appearance. I then repeat this multiple times until I'm happy with the effect. I also go ahead and add some of this to the Lucy McLean miniature I painted previously on this channel. If you'd like to see that video, see the link in the top right, or if it's missing, it's also included in the description. And this is the end result. I was kind of taken aback after looking at screen grabs from the Fallout show on just how much brown clothing Cooper has, but again, it makes sense to draw attention to his face. I have played most of the Fallout games, including the first two, and I still have nightmares about getting my ass handed to me by a giant ant. With that said, I really like the way they handled Cooper's backstory, and I'm excited to see where the next season goes. For lessons learned, I want to return yet again to the idea of color theory to draw attention to the face. It's high time I learn a lot more of color theory. I've ordered a book on color theory that includes examples of art and why colors were chosen and how they work together, as well as basic fundamentals to color theory itself. I should have applied the anti-shine matte varnish on the entire miniature very early in the painting process to eliminate all of the glossiness. I should have also done a second coat of it, as there were still areas that I missed or didn't get enough of it, where glossiness is still shining through. If I wanted to go back and fix this now, I would have to first meticulously clean off all of the chalk dust, as it would clump and dry in the varnish. And with that said, that will bring this video to an end. I hope you learned something or were inspired to start or expand your own Fallout miniature collection. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and if you like the content of this video and would like to see more, you can support this channel by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I'm Jim with Working with Miniatures. I'm truly grateful for your time, and I bid you a fond farewell. Until the next video.